Hey there, Papa's Posse. Don't forget about that QR code. Take you to my eBay, YouTube, and Instagram page. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Time for Papa's Posse. A little bit of comic books, coffee, and more. Okay, today's reading will be, excuse me, Marvel Tales starring Spider-Man. It's a collector's item classic. Number 190, 75 cents, back in 1986. Title of the story is Spider-Man No More. Now don't forget, this book and others are available on my eBay page, Papa's-Comic-Books. Please hit that like button down below. Hit that subscribe. Give me a comment. Tell me what you thought about it. Let me clear my throat. Excuse me. And let's get to it. The Amazing Spider-Man No More. Also, this book is by Stan Lee and John Romita. What say we skip any long introductions? If one glance doesn't tell you where this little caper's at, then turn your web in shooter on the way out. I'm surprised at you gents. Don't you know better than to try robbing an office of Spidey swinging territory? You masked creep, you ain't gonna stop us, not unless you're bulletproof. And bulletproof you ain't. Crack, sorry about that. He flipped himself back, you missed him. Come on, our only chance is to rush him. All together now, let's pile on. This'll take care of him. He's going down, we got him. Here's where we demolish the creep. I hate to shatter your pipe dream, guys, but us Spider-Men don't demolish that easy. Now, I don't know you. I don't want you to think I'm getting bored or anything, because you're a real swinging fun group. But I'll have to wrap this tea party up now. Don't think it hasn't been a real pleasure waltzing around with you. Bow, bow, moof, you, oh. Although just between us kids, it hasn't been. Excuse this door, gents, but I've got to save my webbing. Spider-Man, you saved our payroll and perhaps our lives. How can we ever thank you? Easy, Martha, stay back. How can we be sure he isn't as bad as the others? The Daily Bugle says he's a menace. Don't come any closer to us. You can't stop trembling, Tiger. I don't bite. Boy, Jameson's baddie editorials have done me more harm than all the crooks in town. No matter what I do, half the population is scared stiff of me, and the other half probably thinks I'm some kind of full-time nut. Well, who cares what people think anyway? That's just the trouble. I care. Everyone flips over the Fantastic Four. They think Daredevil's the coolest. Captain America turns them on. But just mention Spider-Man and Freezeville. I'll never understand how it happened. I don't steal candy from babies or tie the tin cans on puppy dogs. It's all Jameson's fault. He's got the public convinced that next to me, Genghis Khan was a piker. The public, the more I help them, the more they hate me. Minutes later, reaching his apartment, the brooding youth finds another cause for concern. Mrs. Watson called her earlier. It's your aunt. She's ill. Want me to drive you there, Peter? Aunt May? That means she needs me. I'll take my bike, Harry. It's faster. Aunt May must have had another attack, and I was too busy playing superhero to be there when I should have. I just pray I'm not too late. Mrs. Watson, I got here as fast as I could. What happened? It's all right, Peter. She's resting now. Luckily, the doctor was just passing by. If not for that, where is she? Can I see her? She kept calling for you, wondering where you were. She was worried, but then Dr. Bromwell managed to give her a sedative. If I had been at home like any other normal guy, they could have reached me fast, but no, I was out flexing my muscles trying to help the very people who fear me. We better let her sleep, Peter. I'll tell her you were here. Try not to be too far from the phone till your aunt is back on her feet, son. I will, Mrs. Watson, and thanks for looking after her. If anything had happened before I could have reached her, I'd never forgive myself. Ever since I moved in with Harry, I had hardly even thought about Aunt May. After all, why should I care about her? All she ever did is spend a lifetime looking after me, treating me like her own son, that's all. She devoted most of her life replacing the mother that I never had, and I show my gratitude by never being there when she needs me. I've got a rough exam tomorrow, but there's no use trying to study. I'd never be able to concentrate, not now, the next day at the conclusion of the test. Anything wrong, Pete? I hardly saw you write a thing. If I pass, it'll be a miracle. Parker, would you mind remaining a few minutes after class? I'd like to have a word with you. Sure, Professor Warren. Just a friendly warning, son. Your grades have been declining steadily. You came to this class with the finest record in science I've ever seen. I hope you just don't feel you can just coast along on that. No, sir, I'm going to start buckling down. Oh, Peter, I'm having a little get-together at my home tonight. I'd love you to be there if you can. I've been waiting for Gwen to ask me, but Aunt May's so ill, and my grades are so low. Gee, I'm sorry, Gwen. Would you mind if I take a rain check instead? Of course not, Pete, though I am disappointed. Excuse me. I'm probably the only one who'll have to refuse her invitation, and because of the complications Spider-Man creates in my life, I haven't even had time for dating scatterbrained Mary Jane these days. Or is she really a scatterbrained? I've never been able to take the time to find out for sure. So long as I hang on to my Spider-Man identity, I haven't time for anything except new problems. All the way home, the troubled youth's thoughts keep tumbling tortuously into his brain until, hurry, Dad offered me a job working in a chemistry lab, a job I'd give my eye teeth for. But I've even had to turn that down because it would involve a lot of night work, and I've got to keep my evenings free in case Spider-Man has to go into action. Spider-Man, I'm beginning to hate the very sound of that name. But hate it or not, no sooner does he turn on the TV than the Sobrian continues to haunt the brooding adventurer. Maybe if I hear a news for a while, oh no. And my newspaper challenges anyone to prove that Spider-Man isn't a public enemy. It's Jameson again, using the show he sponsors to stir up the people against me. Some misguided fools call him a superhero, but why does he operate outside the law? Why does he cloak his identity behind that ugly fright mask? Let me tell you why. Because he's really an egomaniac, a neurotic troublemaker flaunting his power before the ordinary citizens whom he despises. For all we know, he himself provokes the criminals whom he later seems to defeat. Do we want our youngsters to make an idol of a mentally disturbed menace? I say no. We must find him, unmask him, and then destroy him. As publisher of the Daily Bugle, I offer $1,000 for the capture and conviction of that web-slinging, wall-crawling mockery of a man. A $1,000 reward just for me. He hates me far more than I thought. The time has come to rid ourselves of that false-faced freak who hides the day by day and tries to take the law into his own hands under the cover of night. The terrible thing is he means it. He actually believes that he says and sincerely thinks I am a threat to society, a menace, public enemy, egomaniac, fraud, mentally disturbed. But what if he's right? How can I have been so blind, never to have realized? Perhaps only a madman would do what I do, taking the risks, accepting the dangers. And for what? After all these years, it's suddenly clear I must be a glory-hungry fool, or worse. Like a man in a trance, the heart-sick youth leaves his apartment, trudging listlessly through the night. His thoughts are dark and stormy as the skies above him. Being Spider-Man has brought me nothing but unhappiness. In order to satisfy my craving for excitement, I've jeopardized everything that really matters. Aunt May, my friends, the girls in my life. And for what? Can I be sure my only motive was the conquest of crime? Or was it the heady thrill of battle, the precious taste of triumph, the paranoid thirst for power, which can never be quenched? May heaven forgive me. The more I think of it, the more I feel that Jameson was right. In which case, for the sake of my own sanity, there's only one thing left to do. I was just a young, unthinking teenager when I first became Spider-Man, but the years have a way of slipping by. The changing of the world is about, And every boy, sooner or later, must put away his toys and become a man. And he drops off the costume. No, despite what you may think, our tale is not yet ended. For the very next morning, hold it, stop it, you can't go in there. Wait, that's Mr. Jameson's private office. Maintain your cool, lady. When he sees what I've got here, he'll give me a medal. Hey, Jameson, open up. This is your lucky day, mister. Miss Brant, since when do you let punk kids come barging into my office? I'm sorry, I couldn't stop him. He raced right past me. Hold it, before you blow a gasket, look what I found in a trash can. What do you think this is, a garbage collection agency? Hey, wait, come here. Let me see that. It's a costume. It's that wall-crawling weasel's costume. I'll be hanged if it isn't look like a real McCoy. And if you found it in a trash can, it can only mean one thing. Don't just stand there, Miss Brant. Get me the city desk, and I mean now. Yeah, you heard me right. I'm holding it now. Put out an extra splash across the front page. You rate a reward, kid. Grab a free copy of the Bugle on your way out. That's a reward? Alas, we will never know whether our disillusioned youngster ever took this free copy or not, for we now leap ahead to the next morning. How about that? They found the costume in a trash can. That web-slinging wonder wouldn't ever quit. Somehow must have beaten it out of him. I believe it when I see it. Jameson will print anything to sell his papers. I don't get it. Maybe it's just a gag. Every copy I printed sold out. This is the scoop of a lifetime. After all these years, I finally got some good out of that mass misanthropy. Everything's coming up roses. But if something happened to Spider-Man, why didn't the police make the announcement? We don't know any more about it than you, but we're starting an investigation now. Is it true, Mom? Is it true? Let's hope not, Joey. Needless to say, it doesn't take long for the TV networks to cover the biggest human interest story of the year. I'll give the folks a close-up view of it, Johnny. Let's not forget to mention that it was my Daily Bugle that first published the news as a public service, of course. We're offering a bargain subscription rate right now. Suppose we get this conversation back to Spider-Man and Jameson. Naturally. You don't think I was trying for a free plug, do you? Oh, perish forbid. In fact, or just about every major channel, the subject is the same. Do you feel that the human arachnid proclivates preclude the possibility of the being merely a monumental bit of chicanery? I'd rather not answer that, David, because of its possible impact on our viewers. No, because I don't understand the question. What do you gentlemen think is the answer? It's obvious to me that the underworld has finally done away with him. Speaking as a psychiatrist, I feel he has suffered a schizophrenic withdrawal from reality. Or to a couch, in layman's terms, he's out of his tree. And amongst the highest echelons of the underworld, the reaction is equally fast and furious. This is the moment we've been waiting for. With Spider-Man gone, my plans can now reach fruition. Tell the boys to start spreading the word. I want every mob in the city to know the Kingpin is ready to take over. We'll do, Kingpin. We'll have a summit meeting that'll make Appalachian look like a tea party. As the long, fateful hours tick by, one man becomes increasingly aware of a new mood among the city's criminal element. Something's in the air. I can see it. I feel it. I can almost reach out and touch it. Mobsters who wouldn't be caught within miles of each other, deadly enemies, are meeting and whispering. Whatever it is that's in the wind, one thing's for sure. It's something big. And it won't be long before Patch, the stool pigeon, finds out what's going on. Hold it, punk. Where do you think you're going? This isn't your territory, so take a powder. Hey, what gives, Blackie? You know me. It's all Patch. I just want to in on the action. Not this time, small fry. Go on back to picking pockets. You're out of your league here. Don't make tell you twice, creep. I was right. Some of the biggest mobsters in the East are getting together, and they're not doing it just because they're lonely. I'd better take off and make my own plans before they get suspicious of me. And as the thoughtful stoolie slowly fades into the deepening shadows, with Spider-Man gone, the Kingpin is ready to take over the head man of the mobs. Any questions? Why don't he tell us himself? I don't deal with stooges. Relax, Shorty. You know the Kingpin likes to stay in the background. If anyone is going to make control around here, it's the Kingpin's our boy. Up to now, I always been my own boss. I don't like it. Then start liking it, mister. What the Kingpin says around here goes. While in a small furnished apartment on the other side of town, I don't have to be a genius to figure out what's going on. Spider-Man helped to keep the underworld on the run. They were disorganized, fearful, cautious, but now it's different. With the web slinger out of action, they're ready to pool their forces. Judging by the ones I've seen, it could be the most powerful army of crime ever assembled. And since somebody will have to lead them, why couldn't it be the man called Patch? Not a man alive knows that I'm really Frederick Foswell. The next morning, as Foswell, I'm just 2-bit reporter. But if I could become the king of crime once again. Hey, Foswell, come here. I want to show you something. Now that I've gone straight, everyone trusts me. They've never suspect. Yes, sir, Mr. Jameson. How do you like it? It's the greatest trophy a man could have, and it's all mine. Now I want you to follow up the Spider-Man story. Get all the leads you can. You've got company, JJ. Can I see you a minute, Jameson? It's Parker. Say, well, what's that doing here? What does it look like it's doing? On display, just like some masterpiece in a museum. I never managed to catch that weak-kneed web head, but I did the next best thing. Parker probably knows as much about Spider-Man as anyone, the way he managed to get all those exclusive action photos. I got his costume for a trophy. Well, don't just stand there. I haven't time for every empty-headed juvenile that barges in. I better turn away. Can't let them see that I'm interested in the costume. I just came by to tell you not to expect any more pics from me. I'm going to study, but good, like a college Joe should. No, you can't quit. You were the best photog I ever had. Then why didn't you ever pay me top rates? I didn't want to spoil you. Parker quitting at the same time as Spider-Man seems to be out of action. Is it merely coincidence, or I've been betrayed, stabbed in the back? After all I've done for you, you're deserting me? I was like a father to you, gave you the benefit of my wisdom, my kindness, my warmth, my friendship, and now you prove that it doesn't pay to be living doll, nice guys, always finish last? They do, then simmer down, Skinflint. You'll never have to worry. But even as we carefully tie the loose ends of the Titanic together, a sudden serious outbreak of crime begins to plague the startled city. You guys must be nuts. You can't get away with hijacking, not in broad daylight. When the Kingpin wants a truck hijacked, we do it, Mac. Now climb out of there. You gonna pay me the protection money, or should I tell the Kingpin you refused? No, I'll pay you. Everything went off perfect, just like the Kingpin planned. Yeah, the cops can't be everywhere. And with Spider-Man gone, our job's a lot easier now. Not long after the brooding Kingpin receives a special report. Most of the boys got themselves nabbed by the cops, boss, but it was worth it. We found out what we wanted to know. It looks like Spider-Man really is out of action. He didn't show up nowhere, in no time, no how. Good. It was worth losing a few petty hoods to make certain. This means the time has come to proceed with my master plan. Instead of many rival gangs operating haphazardly throughout the city, instead of the countless crooks acting alone without a chance against the police, the underworld will now be run like a business, and the chairman of the board will be the Kingpin. The next day. The police sure had their hands full lately. I wonder what really happened to Spidey. Do you think someone polished him off? He's mothballs with the other relics, and he's going to stay there. Hi, Gwen. Can I give you a lift? Move over, Mr. P. You found yourself a pigeon. Just got a letter from our swinging soldier boy. Fearless Flash? Let's see. He's the same old howling hotshot. He gives the VCs 24 hours to clear out when he gets there. If anyone else scribbled that, we'd call him a great little kidder. But since he's Flasheroo, they better start packing. He really turns you on, doesn't he, Gwen? Face it, classmate, how many blushing blondes would find a hip, handsome football hero totally repulsive? I'm sorry, asked pretty girl. How was the party? A disaster area without you. You know, I kind of wish you meant that. Oh, you lovable blind goof. Can't you see I do? Thanks for the lift, neighbor. Anytime, princess. Man, if only I had a chance in her league. A fellow could sure sail through life with a gal like that to take home, to come home to. Then, 2 ounces of gasoline later, Aunt May, you're sitting up. You're better. Gosh, that's terrific. Is there anything you need? Anything I can get you? But don't ask for Gary Cary Grant. He's out of town. Oh, Peter, dear, you always cheer me up so. I told you he'd be here right after the class, May, dear. Quick, someone call the beauty parlor. It's an emergency. A living, breathing male walked in and didn't notice me. I'm washed out. A has-been. It's the utter end, friend. Oh, hi, Mary Jane. I didn't know you were here. Obviously, Dad, you'd have arrived even sooner. Well, it's your loss, Tiger. Have to cut out now. I'm late for rehearsal. Like I'm dead, lady. With these new threads Aunt Anna just stitched for me, how can I miss? If your wheels are pointed in the right direction, Petey, oh, this could be your lucky day. Sorry, MJ, I'd better stay with Aunt May for a while. No sweat, nice boy. Finally, as twilight begins to fall, I feel like $1,000,000. No more worries, no more problems. I should have kissed Spidey off a long time ago. No more guilt, feelings about Aunt May. And I'll have plenty of time to study tonight. Yep, this is the life, all right. I never had it so good before. It'll be a pleasure to know what they're talking about in class. But even as the seemingly retired superhero luxuriates in his room, business goes on as usual at the city. Faster, Mac. We ain't got all day. But this money is for welfare. Yeah, the Kingpin's welfare. Now shut up and keep loading the case. A West Side welfare office has just been robbed of its total cash allotment destined for the city's needy. A robbery of the West Side? If that money isn't recovered, what happens to relief payments this month? Handicapped people, old people, helpless infants will be the sufferers, and they don't have bank accounts to fall back on while waiting for help. The police already have picked up the trail of the rats who pulled this job, but just in case, hey, Parker, hold it, you'd shout ahead. You just took the pledge, remember? Your web-slinging days are gone forever. Simmer down, sweetie. You can read all about it in the paper. And simmer down he does, though every instinct within him longs for the thrill of the adventurer once again. But then, the next morning, say, Pete, did you read about the welfare office robbery last night? I just had time for the sports pages. Looks like we're in the middle of a full-fledged underworld invasion. Gotta change the subject, keep my mind on crime, off of crime. Haven't seen him. He's been out of town. Have you thought of any more about his offer about working part-time in his lab? As a matter of fact, I have, Har. I just have to finish some personal matters first. And as soon as my Aunt May is on her feet and my studies are up to snuff, I'm going to do it. Thus, after all these years, things start looking up for the harassed hero. Or do they? How about a soda sandwich and spin after class, woman? Love it, man, but I've got a date with Harry tonight. You two aren't pinned or anything, are you? First Flash, now Harry. You're always trying to pair me off. How come you haven't asked if I've got a mad crush on a bashful black-haired bike rider? Come on, we both know nice guys finish last. Forget it, lady. You said it, Pete, I didn't. If only I thought that Gwen meant. Hello, Peter, dear. I feel so much better that Anna and I are going to the movies. Oh, Aunt May and Mrs. Watson are leaving? Gee, that's great. Have a good time. Here, remember, no flirting with the ushers. Oh, Peter, you're such a caution. So I gave up being Spider-Man to have more time for my family and friends, only to find they don't need me. I might as well go home and bury myself in a book. But on the way back to this pad, Pete hears, "Help, somebody help. Something's wrong atop the warehouse roof." and no one else around except me. It's the watchman. He's outnumbered. If I don't get there fast, they're too dangerously close to the edge of the roof. We can't shut him up. He's only one thing to do. Hold it, look. Someone's vaulting over the edge. Come on, right at us. But how do you get up here? I have to move fast, so fast that they don't recognize me. The watchman hasn't seen me yet, and these two hoods won't get a chance to see anything. Wait, I don't know who you are or where you came from, but you prevented a robbery and probably saved my life. I don't understand. How did you do it? I've got to keep in the shadows, make my way down the stairs, can't even let him hear my voice. The watchman, he reminds me someone from the past. If you wait, there's bound to be a reward. All right, I want you to try to stop. You won't have your reasons. Minutes later. Well, I did it. After all my pledges, all my big plans, I reverted to the type at the first chance I get. And yet, how could I have done anything else? A man's very life was in danger. I seem to remember feeling this way once before. When was it? Of course, now I know. That's why the watchman seemed so familiar. Uncle Ben. He reminded me of my Uncle Ben. How could I have forgotten? It seems like only yesterday now. Aunt May and Uncle Ben, the only family I've ever known. They were the greatest folks that anyone could have. Kind, loving, generous. I'll never forget Uncle Ben saying for months to buy me my first microscope. Then, when I had the lab accident, which gave me my Spider-Man powers, I just became a costume adventurer for kicks. And the money I thought I would bring, I hoped I'd be able to pay Uncle Ben back, at least a fraction of what I owed him. And when it came to chasing criminals, I was more than willing to let George do it. Even when I was yelled at for not even trying to stop fleeing burglar, I struggled. I shrugged it off. After all, it wasn't any of my business, or so I thought. Until I learned that the burglar had actually committed a murder, and it was his victim had been Uncle Ben. That was the turning point. That's when I became Spider-Man for real. This is a long book. One of the first victories in my crime-busting career came a short time later when I cornered an armed robber. Even with the gun, he was no match for my spider powers, and I dusted him off fast and easy. But a minute later, I got the next great surprise of my life. It's him. He's the one who killed Uncle Ben. And then I was suddenly hit by the shocking realization, which has haunted me from that moment on. I had a chance to stop him when he ran past me that day, and I didn't. But if only I had done so, Uncle Ben would be alive today. Now at last, it's all crystal clear to me once more. I can never renounce my Spider-Man identity. I can never fail to use the powers with which a mysterious destiny has seen to fit to give me. No matter how unbearable the burden may be, no matter how great the personal sacrifice, I can never permit one innocent being to come to harm because Spider-Man failed to act. And I swear that I never will. While at the palatial headquarters of the old-blooded Kingpin, we find, ever hear of the big man, mister? You're looking at him. I ran the rackets in this town before Spider-Man put me on ice. But the web slinger's gone now, so I am running the things again. Remember you, Mr. Foswell? I thought you had gone straight. So did I, but I can't stand by and watch someone else pick up where I left off. If anyone's going to organize the mobs, it's got to be me. I've got the guts, the experience, and the savvy, but I'm not greedy. I'm willing to share the take. I can use a man like you as one of my lieutenants. Well, what do you say? You witless fool, you have the temerity to address the Kingpin like that? You dare offer me the position of your lieutenant? I could buy and sell you 100 times a day. Hey, take it easy, Kingpin. I didn't walk in here unprepared. Naturally, my electronic scanner instantly spotted the gun you have hidden your hat. The gun which I can easily obliterate in a single blast, along with the hat itself. A disintegrator beam built into your cane if I hadn't leaped aside. But put Mr. Foswell on ice for a while. He may prove useful to us later on. Hold it, listen to me. You're making a big mistake. The Kingpin does not make mistakes. And in another section of town, a silent, shadowy figure grimly scales the sheer, steep wall of the Daily Bugle building. It has to still be there. It has to. For once I'm in luck. Jameson's own hatred of me wouldn't let him give up that costume. Now, if I can just move fast enough. Then not long afterwards, hey, how come my window's open? I'll snap on that light and yoop. Hi, Chuckles. I thought you were dead, or at least mortally wounded somewhere. Sorry to disappoint you. I was only recruiting. Recruiting? You heard me. I'm signing up volunteers. I'm going to fill the whole city with Spider-Men. Awfully sorry about the retractions you'll have to print in your paper, but I guess you're used to that by now. He's back. He's still alive and more rotten than ever. Oh, no. By the way, next time I leave my costume, the least you can do is have it dry cleaned. We'll see you around, fun friend. And now Spidey's back in town, and as far as the world is concerned, they better believe it. Continue the next ish and how. Alrighty. That was Spider-Man, Marvel Tales Spider-Man, Spider-Man No More. Collector's item, classic, number 90, 75 cents, back in 1986. Hope you enjoyed this little reading. Now, don't forget this book is available on my eBay page, Pappas-Comic-Books. Please hit that like button. Please ring that bell. Leave me a comment. Tell me what you thought. And as Papa, Peter, and Spidey always say...
That was easy.
Until next time, Papa is out.